You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. Feel it. Feel it, you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup exploring over 60 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold on tight. You never know where the crew of the TARDIS is going next.
Hey there, Whovians, and welcome to another episode of Earth Station Who. We are joined tonight by a great crew, a great people who are going to be talking all about the vampires of Venice. With the 11th Doctor, Amy, and Rory on his first trip on the TARDIS. So it is going to be a ton of fun to talk about this one. And this one reminded me that how much I love this era of Doctor Who. It was so different and so fresh. And it was nice that Matt was breathing fresh air into the Doctor's character as so, you know, how do you want to say, hectic or frenetic or, you know, arms flailing everywhere. Hell, you got to see the Doctor hop out of a cake. It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. And we've got a great crew to talk all about it tonight. Of course, our guest tonight is Shannon, and she has a friend with her.
Yep, this is Daisy.
Hi, Daisy. Aww.
Amy's got the cone of shame.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We still love you, Daisy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing
She
to be
got a
ashamed
scratch on her eye.
Oh,
Aww.
so definitely. Poor girl.
Yeah. But she's good.
She's good. And of course, it's a horror episode. So we thought of Shannon because she has a new podcast. You want to tell everyone about your new podcast?
Yes. We have an amazing podcast called Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. I've got two amazing co-hosts, Lisa and Karen, and we dive into it all. We talk about all the different things. There's so much that we love about horror, and it's just a lot of fun. Nothing's off topic, so we talk about the history of things. We talk about movies and shows and books. We even talk about horror in theater. So there's no stone unturned when it comes to horror that we'll talk about.
Oh, that is awesome. And it's a fun show. I've actually been on 2 episodes already.
You have. We loved having you on, especially yes. Jaws. That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. And then I got a couple words in with Mark Maddox on it, on the vampire episode.
Yep.
So it was a ton of fun. So,
yeah. And
guys, if you haven't heard these podcasts yet, Earth Station Boo is a lot of fun. And, I'm kind of very fond of it because I helped, start it. But,
You did. Thank you.
Shannon is doing an admirable job. She is knocking it out of the ballpark. It's really good. And so,
I'm trying.
And so, if you like a good scare, listen to the 3 ladies who will scare the hell out of you.
We try not to, but we probably do.
Exactly. Probably. There's a good chance at it. And of course, let's say hi to our regulars. We are joined, of course, by Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
And Mary Ogle is here.
Everybody, it is fantastic to be here.
Yay!
It's nice to have a little bit of fresh air after reviewing the Celestial Toy Maker last time.
That was a bit of a slog.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But we also have some Doctor Who news to talk all about. We are going to, of course, talk about San Diego Comic-Con. God, it feels like it's been months ago already. There's just been so much happening in the world. And it was just, a week and a half ago. And we actually had Doctor Who in Hall H. It was awesome.
Isn't that where they revealed that the new Doctor is Robert Downey Jr.?
Of course.
Oh, sorry, wrong Doctor. Wrong Doctor.
Well, he is a doctor now, but, and not the doctor you were expecting,
Or that anybody was expecting.
No. There had been rumor about that, but it was like, nah, that's not going to happen. And then he came out on stage and they needed to have a replacement for Kang, so they went
That's
back
who.
to exactly. So now all the questions is, oh, is he a variant of Tony Stark, or is he actually Victor Von Doom, or blah 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 blah? It'll be interesting, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Doctor Who. And we got a lot of news of Doctor Who. We got definitely confirmation about the war between the land and the sea starting to film next month already.
Yay.
And I think it's pretty darn awesome. We're going to have Russell Tovey, and also I'm going to mispronounce this one, of course, is Gunga Mahaba Raw. They'll lead the cast of the new series, but it also will be Unit will be involved with this. So, of course, you're going to have Gemma, and you're also going to have Alexander Dervient, who plays, of course, so it'll be very interesting to see. And, because, are they boyfriend, girlfriend? Maybe. It'll be very interesting to see. But, of course, I want to see a lot of the other characters that we were introduced to, the scientific advisors and, some of the other very interesting characters. Will we get Rose? Will we get Donna? Will we get some of the other companions that we've seen who are now part of Unit? So what are you guys' thoughts on this?
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. The concept is still like, what?
Yeah.
It's weird to go back to the Sea Devils.
And the title
exactly
doesn't get me terribly excited. I'm like, again, if you're trying to win new people over, I'm like, you're not. I mean, it's an uphill battle, right? Like, good luck getting past that. But and as far as we know, it's Dr. Liss. I mean, it could change. We could get a cameo, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if what the cards did, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm optimistic because have we heard about who's like writing this or anything? Is it Russell or is it somebody else?
Well, we've put Russell T Davies as credited as showrunner, writer, and executive producer on this. So
again, I'm kind of hoping that he allows like that door to be open for somebody else, like to participate. Yeah.
So exactly. I'll be very curious to see where it goes and who, if they bring in other writers or other directors. And, I want to see a good series. And is it just a one and done season, or is it supposed to be an ongoing story? And, what it ties into.
Yeah, I don't know. Does it even count as a spinoff if it's only like one little 5-episode thing?
It's a great question. That is a really good question.
I mean, if this is their sort of, backdoor way of having a Unit spinoff, I mean, I guess that's okay, but why not just make it a Unit spinoff? Like, I just don't, I kind of like that. It's kind of weird. Yeah.
Maybe they're testing it.
Right.
Maybe testing to see if people like actually want to watch it. And if it's something that people actually want, and if they do, they go for it. And if not, they at least tried. They gave it a good shot, and then let it go from there.
Now, of course, there were rumors that Freema was going to be reprising her role as Martha Jones, and the initial cast list does not list her. Now, Gugu did play Martha Jones's sister in the Lazarus Experiment. So is she playing her sister now with Unit, or I am wondering to see how that plays out, if she's playing somebody completely different or if she's playing Tish Jones, which is Martha's sister.
That would be interesting to see if she would. And
she's a great actress, by the way.
She's
done so many other things, so I get excited to see her name attached to anything, but I do wonder if she's playing somebody else or if she's playing Martha's sister.
Well, it'd be very interesting to see. Also, Russell Tovey. I was a little surprised by that one too. Because Russell's character is alien, and he was on the Titanic episode.
Yeah.
So I'll be very curious to see what happens with that. I did a little more research, and it is going to also be co-written by Pete McTighe, I think it is. McTighe, McTighe. Okay, McTighe.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's written for Doctor Who before.
He's done A Discovery of Witches, The Pact, and Doctor Who. So it'll be very interesting to see what we get with that. We did not get a trailer for season 2, but we did get a Christmas special, Joy to the World. And we got to see, of course, the Doctor using a magical door of some kind, bringing, sandwiches and, a drink to the world, which was really cute. It was very interesting. We're also getting a Silurian in this story. So
even from the trailer, you could tell that Steven is already using time and traveling through time and space in a way that we don't usually see. It's just his trademark. He does it better than I think anybody else. So
completely.
And he has a lot of fun with it. So I'm looking forward to it. I believe she's Irish. The Irish actress that's in it that was not able to be at Comic-Con, but sort of introduced the trailer and everything. She's fun. So I've seen her in a couple other things. So I'm good things. And like I said before, I mean, the important thing I think was that Ncuti was there, face front as the face of the franchise, and he looked like he had a blast there. Every picture that I saw him in, he had a smile from ear to ear. I mean, he just looks like a great ambassador for this franchise, and I'm glad he was there and could take part in everything and was getting so much attention from the press.
Oh, very much so. And that's one of the great things about it. The actress who's going to be in Joy to the World, she's also in Bridgerton, and she's also in Derby Girls.
Nicolette.
She was huge in Bridgerton. She's very popular.
Exactly. So it's very cool that, we're going to get that kind of audience. And then it's just interesting to see how much Ncuti was at, not just in the Hall H panel, he was all over the con and everything. Both him and Millie was just awesome to see them and everything. So, bravo for that. And so Doctor Who, awesome.
Mike, before we move on to that, I just want to clarify, because I'm not really sure. I saw that there was some sort of connection between Doctor Who and Star Trek in sharing panels or exhibitor space.
That's exactly where I was going next.
So, so I was just kind of seeing, I don't know exactly what the relationship is there. I know that they're coming out with a joint product, but which I'm sure you're going to reveal. But it was weird seeing, like, on the show floor, you'd see Star Trek uniforms next to Doctor Who uniforms, next to like outfits, like actual wardrobe stuff. And it seemed like there was this weird connection there, which is odd because they're completely different, like, production entities.
Very much so. And you even had a panel with Russell and the crew from Star Trek. So
very strange.
Yeah. So maybe we're going to be seeing a mix between it, or maybe Russell's going to be doing some work on Trek.
Or maybe Russell just likes trolling us.
Well, it got it. I mean, it was in the news. It got people talking about both Doctor Who and Star Trek. So I cannot see why both showrunners wouldn't be thrilled about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they have done a crossover before in the comics, now they're going to do one as a phone game.
Yep, it's going to be Star Trek Lower Decks Mobile, and Doctor Who Lost in Time is doing a crossover. So it's pretty cool. And
if you're going to have a version of the Doctor animated in the Lower Deck style, the David Tennant Doctor, I don't know if it's 9 or 14 or 10 or 14, but whichever one it is, like David Tennant Doctor is perfect for that model.
Mm-hmm.
That animation style.
It's going to be very interesting. The description: the player will experience the story of a mysterious space-time ripple that throws the Doctor on board the Star Trek Lower Decks USS Cerritos, while Lieutenant Brad Bormer and Ensign Beckett Mariner find themselves thrust into the enigmatic Doctor Who universe with the ripple disrupting the very fabric of reality. The Doctor must join forces with the resourceful crew of the Cerritos, while Boomer and Mariner team up with the legendary River Song. That you
Sounds
have
like
me
a lot
hooked
of
right
fun,
there.
actually.
Yeah. Together
Yes.
they race against time to repair the ripple and set things right. That sounds fantastic, actually.
Yeah, it really does.
It's like they had me already with Lower Decks and Doctor Who, but then throwing in River Song on top of it, because cartooning her also fits perfectly into that universe. So I think that'll be awesome. So I think that's pretty cool stuff, what we got. It was also a little side note at San Diego. It was awesome to see our friend Kelly Yates at San Diego. And he was getting a lot of attention there, which is, he deserves it. He really does. So it's pretty cool. And, you know, I had a lot of friends at the con, jealous, of course. So, you know.
Yep.
Someday I'll make my return to San Diego.
It does look like San Diego is kind of back. There was more news, more excitement about this year than there has been, I would say, since well before the pandemic. I know the pandemic took a chunk out of things, but even before then, I think, you know, studios were kind of wondering what the point was, and comic companies were struggling with it too. And it was just in a weird place, and people were complaining that it was just not worth the hassle, not worth the expense. But it seems like this year, like a lot of companies, a lot of people embraced it in a way that I hadn't seen in a long time.
Yep, exactly. It'll be, you know, San Diego was amazing. It was on like everyone's tip of their tongues, all the trailers, all the news, all the, you know, the different events that were happening. And, you know, not just Marvel and Doctor Who, there was just everything going on there. It was pretty awesome to see. And, you know, and then the big news, of course, that the Comic-Con is actually talking about leaving San Diego because of,
I know, right?
The hotel rates that are being, you know, jacked up and everything. And they're not, they've been doing that for 15, 20 years, folks.
I know, they're just bringing that up now.
Exactly. So, yeah, keep watching that space, you know, where will they go? You know, will they go north up to Los Angeles? Will they go, you know, they're going to stay in Southern California, obviously, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, and I think Vegas was mentioned too, but I think they're just posturing. I mean, it's like when a baseball team or franchise wants to leave us, you know, or is not getting what they deserve, they kind of moan and groan like, oh, let's move somewhere else. And then either it works out or it doesn't. So I think this is the first kind of thing where they're kind of publicly moaning about things. And then we'll see if the people in San Diego respond and how that goes, and then go from there. But yeah, I wouldn't look too much into it right now.
Mm-hmm. Nope, I think, you know, just watch and see what happens. You know, hotels are not going to lower their rates. You know, if people are going to pay it to come to the con, they're going to.
Yeah, the only way they'll lower it is if they're not full.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And, you know, hell, I couldn't afford to stay down in downtown San Diego when I went to Comic-Con. I had to stay probably about 30 miles away, you know, up the coast.
Downtown San Diego is expensive even when it's not Comic-Con. I mean, that is just a really expensive area anyway.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so it'll be very interesting to see what it is. One other little bit of news out of San Diego before we move on to the episode review. We got the new companion's name for next season. We got her.
Yay!
Yep.
Woo!
Bharata Satu will be playing Belinda Chandra. Wonder what that means. Doesn't say anything else about the companion yet, but it's supposed to not have any connection at all to the character we saw in Boom
earlier.
Yeah. So,
which is like a Doctor Who tradition.
Yes.
You know, how many times have they reused actors? I mean,
I got the feeling that they only realized that she would be good while they were filming that episode.
Oh,
yeah, I think that's when they decided to cast her.
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't like that was the plan. It wasn't like a Clara situation where they knew that Jenna Coleman was going to be the companion when they were
Right.
filming all those episodes with her beforehand. But I think this was just one of those things where it's like, hey, she's pretty cool. Like they have with
Karen,
Freema or
Freema, Karen Gillan.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a small island, people.
There's only so many actors there. You know?
It's happened over and over. Colin Baker.
Exactly.
You know?
So,
Peter Capaldi.
Exactly. So, and hell, Capaldi has played 2 different roles before he played the Doctor in the Doctor Who universe. So, so it's interesting. So, keep your eyes peeled, folks. I'm sure we'll have other news as, Doctor Who comes about, because Russell wants to keep it on everybody's mind.
I was going to say, Russell at the helm, there's always going to be news. At least once a month, something's going to happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, I think Doctor Who had got a very good reception at San Diego, and that's what they needed. I think they really did. And the roar of the crowd, because I watched the whole thing of the episode of the panel, and when they announced, Ncuti to come out, Russell T, Millie, it was deafening how loud the applause was. And Hall H is loud just in general anyway. But so it was cool. So very, very cool. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment, and we are going to be diving into the Vampires of Venice.
Oh man, there's so many new movies and TV shows out. How do I decide what to watch?
Well, you should check out Cigar Nerds Podcast. They discuss all the latest movies and shows.
Wow, but also I need to keep up with the latest cool things that are coming out as well.
Don't worry, little Billy. They also cover the latest in nerd and pop culture news.
Wow, thanks, Radio Voice Guy. Where do I find these nerds?
That's easy. At CigarNerdsPodcast.com.
I'm sending you somewhere. Together.
Ooh, what, like a date?
Anywhere you want. Any time you want. One condition, it has to be amazing.
Something happens in there. Something magical. Something evil.
Venice!
Pale, creepy girls who don't like sunlight.
Am I thinking what I think I'm thinking?
You need someone on the inside.
Are you insane?
You had another option.
You said no, Amy.
I will bend the heavens to save my race. Let's fill the sky with fire.
Welcome back. Now we're diving back into the year 2010. God, that makes me feel old. It feels like it was yesterday that we watched this one. And we had of course, all the new series are one-parters. So we had The Vampires of Venice featuring Matt Smith as the Doctor, Karen Gillan as Amy Pond, and of course, Arthur Darvill on his first adventures in the TARDIS as Rory Williams. And it was fun because the episode before was the Angels story. And this is, you have the fallout from that episode to start off with this one. And it was interesting because when you first see it, you think, oh, this is a pretty cool take on like a Hammer horror type story. And even with the young vampires, you got the feel of that. And I think we actually reviewed this way back in Earth Station 1 when it first aired.
I think so.
And it was a fun story. And I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time, but it wasn't a great story by any means.
Yeah, it's not the world's best episode, but it's fun to watch. But also it's surrounded by really good episodes, and that does not do it any favors.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, I think it helps prop it up a little bit, because
I don't know. I think it just pulls it down.
Because I think the energy is still there. I think the energy of the cast is still there, and it's fun. As Mike said, it's fun to watch the cast just be themselves, these characters, yeah, the script is not tight or is not great, but I mean, you can't blame any of the performers for it because they're all doing an amazing job. And the premise is kind of interesting, and it does kind of, lead into the silence a little bit. I'm not sure. It's obviously, I think this is not the first time we're hearing about the silence. I think that was before this.
This is the second time you've heard about the silence.
Yeah.
Because you had Prisoner Zero has escaped, the silence has fallen, that type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some interesting concepts here, but I was watching this, and after it was done, I was like, man, that was really fun. And I thought, man, though, I'll tell you what, if this came out just like now, this would get skewered because, X, Y, and Z, it doesn't, because it is kind of weak story wise. And it is kind of weird looking at it from these eyes now, that because I think we look at things a little bit differently now, and yeah, this episode would just not do well, like if it was released right now. Like there's nothing wrong with it, like politically or anything like that. It's just that, I mean, there might be a couple things, but but overall, it's just like, there's so much pressure on every episode to be a home run that I think that this one would a lot of people would just dump on it. They would either not appreciate the fact that it was not what it's supposed to be, which is a vampire episode. I mean, it's called Vampires of Venice, et cetera, et cetera. And I know, I also think that the direction is could have been better on this one, because I think, as Mike said, obviously it's got connotations to Hammer horror, but it doesn't really embrace those stylistically.
A little bit they did. I felt like they did.
I mean,
it had aspects.
Yeah.
It had aspects
kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about like the lighting, with them using like the fake green lighting, which is very Hammer 50s era type thing. You also had the way that they did a lot of the shadow work, especially in the dungeon areas, was spot on, like straight up horror.
Yeah.
The way that they shot it was spot on for it.
Exactly. When you had the female vampires attacking the house, and you had the one like coming in, and you saw her floating across the window, that was right out of Hammer. And
I think whenever they're on screen, yes. Every time they're not on screen, no. Like I didn't get a Hammer horror vibe whenever they weren't on screen. But when they were on screen, whenever the vamp girls were on screen, I think I did get that. Yes, there are moments. My favorite scene with them is where the doctor realizes that he can't see them. Their reflection
in the mirror.
In the mirror. Matt does that so well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Matt is just. Can we gush about Matt for a while? Because man, I mean,
he was amazing.
I've been watching him. We just finished season 2 of House of the Dragon, and I mean, talk about a guy who's really upped his game as far as everything that he's doing on screen. But even back then, even in 2010, he is just on fire, and he's just a delight to watch every time he's on screen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree completely. Yeah. He was, every scene he was in this episode was just amazing. From when he pops out of the cake, and he's like, "Oh, hi," and "Oh, there's a girl out in a bikini out in the alley. Her name's Sally. She's diabetic, so you might want to get her something." It's just he's so good. He's so awkward in everything he does. But then you also have his like, "Hey, I'm the doctor. I'm taking control of this." The scene when he was sitting in the throne was just awesome.
He had that energy in House of the Dragon.
Yes.
Matt Smith on a throne. That's all about House of the Dragon, right?
But Matt had a presence in every scene. Every time the camera's on him, he commanded that scene. And I think that just shows not how great of an actor he is, but just how charismatic he is naturally, that it just speaks. Like, you can't help it.
Whether he's like popping out of a cake and doing this sort of like British farce humor kind of thing, or whether he's, sort of out of his, or he's uncomfortable talking to Amy and Rory about their problems, or then he has that scene in the throne room, like you said, with Rosanna. Whenever he's with Helen McCrory, rest in peace, Helen. I mean, she's amazing in this too. They just have an energy together that is like so compelling that even though story-wise it doesn't make sense, some of the things that both of them are doing, it just, the chemistry between them and the way they work the room when they're acting together, it's just electric.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the things that we find to be lacking in this episode are because we didn't see the entire episode. They had a lot more filmed and written out in the script than what they were able to actually show. And a lot of it was because it was too quote unquote scary. So I think it's kind of interesting when we're talking about this, how all of us are going, man, I wish this was better. I wish there was more to this, or something was lacking. And I bet it was because it was a scene that we didn't get to see that tied everything in a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's possible.
That actually explains a lot because it feels very choppy. There aren't good transitions a lot of the time, and I think that may be why
felt very rushed.
Mikey G, was saying that there's a problem with the direction, but maybe it's more a problem with the editing. And
I think it's the editing.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be. I mean, this is like, as it is, the running time on this episode is 50 minutes, and usually this is 5 minutes over than they usually get at this time. So it's already long for an episode around 2010. So yes. I don't, even scary or not, they couldn't have put much more into this.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have had to have, streamlined some things. And maybe, in the cutting room, they just didn't accommodate for what they cut. And so some of it does look kind of random and it's not really well executed. But that said, I had a lot of fun. I thought I know you guys said the special effects and the CG was weak, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought they looked when we actually see what Satyrians, is that what they're called? Like Centurions or whatever. What they look like, I thought it was pretty cool for that time period for 2010. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Judy called them spiderfish. So
and the sequence where
fair name.
Dust's one of them right on top of her boyfriend, her fiance. I was like, and you see the dust, and Rory's covered in this fish dust. I was like, oh man, that can't smell good.
No, not at all.
No, and Arthur hit it out of the park with the face of utter disgust as he's like, oh, what is all over me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, everybody talks about Matt's performance in this episode, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But also, I think awesome. Arthur Darvill's performance in this episode is really good. I mean, he's understated, but when the camera's on him, he knows how to sell it, how to grab a scene and just go with it. And his interactions with the doctor are great. His insecurity and his anger at how he perceives the doctor at using his companion, specifically Amy, which is very understandable, and he sells it.
He called him on his BS. He called the doctor, all your companions are trying to impress you. They put themselves in danger to impress you. And I loved how he called it. Hell, when he even got into the TARDIS, he was saying, oh, it's an extra dimensional, box.
Yeah, it's another dimension.
Exactly. And the doctor says, I like it when people say it's bigger on the outside,
not winning any favors there.
Exactly. And it was just, I'm glad he was the one to challenge Matt, and he was great in every scene. And why am I dressed up as your brother, type thing? I'm your fiance. And the other guy says, I think he's more believable as her fiance. It was just awesome.
I will give Johnny Campbell, the director, credit, because there are several scenes where the doctor and Amy, or the doctor's doing something and Arthur's in the background, Rory's in the background, and you get to see Rory's reaction. I think Johnny was smart in one sense, that he knew that this story was really about the doctor and Rory.
Yeah.
And so he makes sure that the two of them are on screen a lot. Not directly, not talking to each other, but like one of them's in the background. And you get to see the reaction of that one in the background with everything they're doing, and that tells a lot too. And that was kind of smart to have that in there.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And the dynamic of the three of them was great.
This is the episode I fell in love with Rory as a companion. This was the one because he stood up to the doctor, and not in like a, well, I'm tired of the way you treat me. It was, hey, what you're doing is wrong.
Mm.
How you use these people, whether you know you're doing it or not, is not right, and it's dangerous, and this is why people get killed. And it was heartwarming because he wasn't being vicious about it, but he was being very direct.
No, he was being direct.
And I loved that.
And it's funny too because poor Arthur became the Kenny of Doctor Who for quite a bit after this.
Oh no, they killed Rory.
Rory has a rough time. Rory has a rough time, and I don't think he really gets his, but then, eventually, good on Moffat, because he really does get, once he becomes the man, good man goes to war soldier that waited or whatever, like that. Right. That Rory is incredible. I mean, we see elements of it here. I think my favorite scene between them is where, the doctor is going to confront or try to save the Venice at the end, and he tells Amy to go back to the TARDIS. He says, go back to the TARDIS, and she, like any companion, is resistant, and he as firmly as he's done anything in this episode, even talk to Rosanna, he says, do what I say. Like, don't argue. And Amy turns away, and Rory just looks at him and looks at the doctor and says, thank you. Like that, like they're on the same page. And it's just that, I mean, Rory won that battle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And I think that the characters were great in this one. And I thought the doctor was great. I thought the companions were great. I liked the villain. I thought she was pretty awesome. At least
Helen can do no wrong.
Yeah,
Helen is amazing.
She was great. I couldn't stand her son. I thought he was.
I mean,
he was just sort of your typical simpering little lordling, spoiled brat. It's a very typical English trope. And you're not meant to like him.
No,
he is not likable.
I mean, there's a reason why we all were glad that he turned into dust. So
yeah.
Exactly. I thought it was kind of like a wuss ending. The big collapse. The thing on top of the tower. All it took was like a little switch on the top to shut it off. It was like click. It was like, really, really. It was a switch that you could find at Home Depot or Lowe's.
Yeah, but you had to get to that switch.
Yeah, you had to climb the tower.
I would have been like, no, I can't get to that switch. There's no way. Like, the doctor can get to that switch, and that's the impressive part.
I was fully expecting him when he was climbing up to have to do something with the sonic, something, or throw the thing off the side of the building. Nope.
Yeah, you
click.
Just turn it off.
I mean, if you're building it, you're thinking, who the heck is going to be able to get up here?
Right.
And you have to think, these are refugees. They escaped the silence. So they only had so much tech on them.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But the real beautiful ending, I thought you were going to suggest that it was a wussy ending for Rosanna, but I'm like, that is a pretty
I was going to get to
moving ending for her at the end. Like that's, we've seen the doctor go up against aliens before, and he does offer them a choice, even if they don't deserve it. Like the spider lady, right? In the wedding,
Runaway Bride.
Thank you. But in this case, the doctor kind of, I don't know, he doesn't really offer her sanctuary. Like, I thought that was weird that he could have said, like, I could take you and your children somewhere else. And he doesn't really offer that. And I don't think it would have made any difference. I mean, she was pretty determined to end life on her terms.
Right.
Yeah.
And not in a great way. Like, that's pretty brutal.
Very much so. Eaten by her own children.
Yeah.
Talk about, you don't need to, we don't need to see it to imagine it. Like that that's the way real horror works, right? Like just make it.
Horror
just
is
give
all
us,
about perspective.
Just give us enough that our imagination fills in the blanks, and with something as terrible as that. I mean, that's just oof.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty gross and disgusting, and but I thought the scenery in Croatia was beautiful, posing as
gorgeous
Venice.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been to Venice, but it looked real enough. It looked real enough to me.
Yeah.
Well, the city that they filmed in actually was conquered by the Venetians, and so a lot of the architecture you actually saw was because
they were conquered. Yeah,
artists,
exactly.
And they had inhabited that area for quite a while, actually.
Well, it's interesting because they filmed 2 episodes when they were in Croatia, and because they filmed this and also the Van Gogh episode there too, and so it was just like it was all beautiful, and it was. I'm glad they went on location for this. They just didn't do it in a sound stage or build sets or Cardiff to make it look like Venice.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job. I mean, I think this was the 3rd episode in the new revised series to be filmed outside of the UK, and along with Fires of Pompeii and Planet of the Dead. And it's like when they take trips like this, it does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very much so. And
there's only so many quarries you can go to. In the UK.
Exactly.
We have a quarry that looks like Venice? Damn. No, I have to go to Croatia.
Okay, we're going to Croatia. Perfect. And the Croatians were like, yes, please come, bring your money. Yes, we love it. So it's pretty cool with that. So yeah, overall, I think this was a fun episode. And like Mary said earlier, it's sandwiched by some amazing stories. This whole first season of Matt's was great. So, and what's to come is even, more like, oh my goodness, I can't wait, to see more of this. I actually ended up watching Amy's Choice. So it was kind of cool after. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and rate this one?
I mean, I know I've gushed about, the Doctor and Rosanna's scenes, but specifically when Rosanna comes to him with the we can rule this planet together, help us, join us, and he says no, and she's like, why? And he says, because you didn't know her name.
Yep.
Because you didn't know her name, and then you sort of bookend that with when she ends her life before she jumps in the lake. Pool, whatever it is. She says, can your conscience carry the weight of another dead race? Remember us, dream of us. And then she dives in. And it's like, I mean, that's just like, I mean, that those scenes alone elevate this episode to me so that it does hold up. Yeah, maybe some of the plot points and everything are not as great, but to me, moments like that hold up this episode compared to the rest of the season.
Oh, very much so. I agree completely with that.
Yeah, that last moment when she's like, have this sit on your conscience. It's like, does this man really need another thing on his conscience?
I know, right?
Also, Boy has so much already.
But also you have to contrast that with you don't remember her name. You don't know her name. I mean, she's asking for something that she was not willing to give.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Exactly.
And that makes it very powerful.
And she's using that weakness that she feels he has against him. Like, you're going to remember this.
To her, that's a weakness.
Yeah, you're going to remember this. Good luck with your conscience, remembering that you could have saved us and you didn't.
Well, exactly.
And to think he was considered the Doctor who forgot.
There you go. Touche. All right. 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Mary, I'm going to let you go first tonight.
So I'll be honest and say I probably did not like this episode as much as you guys did, and I never have. I mean, I've watched it 3 or 4 times. I didn't think it was great the first time I watched it, and I still don't think it was great. But I think the performances are great, and I don't think the story is great, and that could be because of script problems and editing. But for what we saw on the screen, was not very coherent. However, the performances are wonderful, and I would recommend it just for that alone. And there are definitely moments within it that are worth watching.
Oh, sure.
So I am going to give it, I think, a 3.5, because I think it's a good episode, worth watching, but not one of the great Doctor Who episodes.
Okay. Mikey.
I am going to give it a 4. I'll up it a little bit because, yes, I agree that the story is not as compelling as it could be. But I think that a lot of the elements are there. They just are not connected as well as they could be. And again, the performances and the character development of almost like all the mains, I think, are just solid. I mean, we didn't really talk about Amy's performance in this or Karen's performance in this, but she's solid as well. I mean, everybody is it's just cranking this out and it's a fun watch. And I don't feel that it's a huge drop off between this and some of the others. I know there's some really, there's some 5s in this season for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a 4. So it's not like, I don't feel like it's that much of a drop off, but yes, I will admit it's a drop off, but, and yeah, it's good to see Helen again and doing something that I'm not like going, oh man, they wasted her. Like, I hate it when I see a great actor or an actress in Doctor Who and I'm like, oh man, it's too bad their Doctor Who performance wasn't that great or their character wasn't that great. But here, she rose above.
Okay. No. Shannon.
I'm going to give this a 3.5.
Okay.
I think because of like the lack of the editing and everything, I feel like it did fall a little short. Compared to especially compared to a lot of the other episodes this season. But the episode itself was good. It just wasn't great. And there were there was choppiness. There was, lacks here or there for different things. But the actors, they would all get 5 stars. They all did an amazing job. So that's why it's that 0.5.
Okay.
But yeah, I think a great episode. I can watch it, but it's not an all-time fave.
Right.
Even the puppy agrees.
Okay, there you go. For me, it was probably going to be, I'm going to do a 4. I'm going to agree with Mike on this one, but I see what each one of you were saying, and I agree with that a lot of the story is kind of jumped and kind of rushed because there's scenes missing, parts of the story that should have been in there. And that's why I don't give it higher. I like the characters. I liked it. I think, I was thinking about it after I watched it last night. I was like, wouldn't it have been awesome if they didn't have the doctor jumping out of the cake and everything at the beginning? I would have loved if they would have had the scene with Isabella coming to the school and, the father leaving, and then the son is walking around her, and then he shows the fangs and she screams, and then go into the theme, the opening. I think that would have been more like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what happens in this. Instead, they have the soft, part with the doctor popping out and Rory, having the stag party and everything. And Judy looked at me and said, when we had our stag parties and, and such, why didn't you have a t-shirt like that for me? Type thing. And so it was just
better get one for the next anniversary.
We got other big things planned for the next anniversary. Don't worry about that. But it was,
I'm sorry, Rory's got blown up in a million pieces, so you can't get that one.
Exactly. Damn. Yeah, I want to have a t-shirt with Karen and, Arthur on it, for our anniversary. So with a heart around it. But yeah, it was a fun episode to watch. I liked some of the homages they did do to the Hammer Horror, and I did enjoy, overall the story. Some of it, the one thing that took me out was the CGI of the fish people. But it was, this is, almost 15 years ago, folks, already. So things have happened a lot more computer-wise since then. So, you know what? I'm not going to knock it down other than that. And you know what? Like we've all said, this is such a great season of Doctor Who. And, you know, bringing Matt on board, it was awesome. And then you had the cracks everywhere. Was there actually a crack in this one? Did anyone see?
I don't think so. They mentioned it, but they...
they mentioned it, but I don't think we actually ever saw it.
I don't remember seeing one.
And we get this sort of, very rare for Doctor Who, but as it ends, you know, when Rory says, all I hear is silence.
Yeah.
We hear like Rosanna's voice and it says they were cracks.
Yes.
And so it's like, wow, we don't usually get that. That was a weird sort of thing to have at the end of the episode, is Rosanna saying that we saw silence and the end of all things.
Right. And because the silence ended up being that religious cult, you know, those guys, you know, who if you saw them, you forgot them.
Before it gets all convoluted.
Yeah, exactly. Wibbly wobbly, timely. So
this is pre-convolution.
Exactly. But you know what? Definitely enjoy it, folks. Definitely would. Want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. If you made it this far into the episode, of course, please like and subscribe or give us a rating. If you're listening to us, you know, 5 stars would be wonderful. We'd appreciate it. We love you guys at home. And thank you guys for everyone who has been listening. Like we always said, our numbers are doing great. Even, you know, since we've been done reviewing the new season, everyone's been sticking with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We do appreciate you. All right, let's thank our crew for being here. Shannon, awesome for you to sit in with us. We do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on. I always have a good time.
I would hope so.
I just wish there were more scary episodes of Doctor Who so we could have you on more often.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, why isn't Doctor Who scary more often? Oh, wait.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Heck, we could rewatch the whole Colin Baker era. That was kind of scary in itself. So.
In a different way, yeah.
Are we gonna
different kind of scary?
Yes.
Are we going to review the new version of Fear Her that they're going to release?
Oh my god!
Oh yeah, I didn't even want to bring that up tonight.
No.
I did not. I tried to stay away from that one. Want to promote your show?
At least it was at the end of the episode instead of the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah. Earth Station Boo, you can find us on all the different platforms, including YouTube. You can find us on all of our social media at the same place. We've got literally all the things, and we have a fun Facebook group that we post all sorts of fun stuff in. Like right now we're doing 100 horror movies in 92 days with Letterbox, so it's a good fun time.
Exactly. That's a ton of fun stuff. And how can people find you?
You can find me on all the different things at Spilled Tea Wine Media Mind.
All right. Yay. Let's thank our regulars for being here. Of course, Mr. Mike Gordon.
Woo!
As always, it's my pleasure.
And by the time this comes out, you will be over at Monsterama.
Yes, Monsterama is this coming weekend, so I hope to see as many people of you fans of Doctor Who, because we do scary stuff there too. So love to see everybody at Monsterama. And then Dragon Con's right around the corner. Boy, is it coming up fast, hitting me square in the face.
Oh,
like a wet fish.
A Venetian fish?
So we are going to release our
fish.
episode, our penultimate episode before the show of the Dragon Con Report. So please check that out. That is going to be something that's going to be released in a couple weeks. But this week we're releasing a special episode of the Dragon Con Report because we're talking all about the new book that I finally am going to have see print, which is called Dragon Tales, featuring our own Mary Ogle here. So she not only provided a great essay, but a beautiful cover. So thank you, Mary, for all of that.
Absolutely.
And we've got 15 people that have contributed essays and memories and fiction stories and all sorts of great stuff celebrating the con we love so much. So
That's awesome.
By the time you guys see this or hear this, Dragon Tales should be available at Amazon, or just contact me and I'll tell you how to get a copy. And it's for charity.
Awesome. Yay! Very cool. And Ms. Mary Ogle, thank you as always.
Thank you. I always enjoy talking with you guys.
Where can people find your artwork?
You can find me at mariogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. Of course, you can also find us here on, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you find stuff. But we always would love to hear from you guys. Of course, feedback at EarthStation.Who is always the best way to get in touch with us. If you have any questions, any requests for us to review stuff, or heck, if you want to join us like Shannon does, we'd always love to have new faces here also. So please always get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you guys. We'll be back again in 2 weeks, and we are looking at the Ninth Doctor and River Song. So it should be a ton of fun to do that Big Finish audio. Until then, my name is Mike Faber. On behalf of Mary Ogle, Michael Gordon, and Shannon Clute, we thank you so much for being with us tonight. Peace, and we will talk to you soon. See you on the time stream, my friends.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.